This session will be recorded, and I will certainly make it available to all the federations so that you can share this session onwards. We also will be having another briefing on the rules and regulations, which will be more specifically targeted for referees and judges. So this will be on Monday at the same time. So just a reminder for you to ensure that your referees and judges are aware that this session is happening, and that would be great for them to join and listen in. So to begin, our dear president isn't able to join us today, but he has sent us a nice little message, which I'll play for you right now.
Thanks you all for joining in this important webinar today. As you know, our IFMA office have been working closely with the various commissions to update and improve the IFMA rule and regulation for making our sport competitive, fair and safe for our athletes. The updated version has been released to all of you at the beginning of this month. The update and change have been worked on by myself and head of the Referee and Judge Commission, Ajahn Somchai, Senior International Technical Official Gunther Prang, Lion Rudkin, Chair of Medical Commission Erdogan Ayen, Chair of Athletes Commission Janice Lins, Senior Technical Delegate Damiti Puntelins, and Dato Shanas. And last but certainly not least, our most respected Secretary General Stefan Fox. Thank you, our Director Charissa, who has been coordinating on the many expert input from the various commissions and individuals. With Mr. Lion Rugin, our senior ITO, who has worked on putting together the final document. So this is why he will be walking you through the final document today. So I wish you all productive and successful webinar today. Please stay safe and healthy, and I hope soon we can see all each other in person again. Thank you. สวัสดีครับ
Okay, so wonderful, lovely, warm message from our president. And now, Stephen Fox, Secretary General, please, the floor is yours.
First of all, thank you to everybody for joining us in whatever time zone you are, morning, afternoon, evening, in the middle of night. We are all living in rather challenging times. I think the pandemic has affected life as we know it in so many ways and levels. Not just Muay Thai, the entire sporting world in many countries have come to a standstill. For IFMA, we have stopped many events as we always will put the safety and health of our family in the forefront of all our work. It also has given us a chance to restructure internally, restart education system, virtual seminars, webinars, workshops, and tonight is again one of them. I must thank really, and I do not want to repeat the words of our president, I must really thank everybody which have contributed to the updated rules and regulations, which you all have been already received. It's updated on the website, and it's the result of the cooperation of the different commission and individuals, including our president, head of our technical commission, and certainly Ryan and Günther and Dimitri, which have put in a lot of work. And I must especially thank Janice Lin, the head of our Athletes Commission, and certainly Charissa, which have worked many, many hours to put everything together. We're going to a new normal. We must adopt to the situation, and many national federations are part of our upcoming virtual first ever World Championship. The qualifications already have begun around the world, and by the end of next month, for the first time, we will do a virtual competition, giving virtual medals and hopefully bringing smiles and opportunities, especially to our next generation. Now more than ever, we must stand together in solidarity. We must ensure that we work on our youth, especially in these challenging times. And the winners of the World Championship in the Max Fit and the Aerofit competition, they will have the opportunity to move on in November to the United Through Sports World Youth Festival under patronage of the IOC, the IPC, the Special Olympics, United Nations and UNESCO, and have the chance to be on the same platform as 70 other international sporting organizations, and hopefully ending up at the podium. I only can encourage you, the National Federation, to continue to good work, to work closely with the headquarters and especially our director, Charissa, to ensure that as one family, as one organization, we will move into the new normal and will continue to protect the cultural heritage of Muay Thai and live the exciting sporting world of our organization. And hopefully very soon we will meet each other again on the arenas around the world. Thank you for coming and joining us, and good luck and best health to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. So without further ado, let's just get to it. Ryan, over to you.
Hey, how you doing? Swadee Kap. I'd like to say thank you to the IFMA headquarters, especially Charissa, Mr. Stefan Fox, and obviously Dr. Tapsawan for their patience and understanding over the last couple of years, bringing these rules together. I hope that the new layout, format, and clarification finds you all well. So let's begin. So we're going to start with the presentation. And I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Okay, so today's webinar is the Rules and Regulations update. The key changes that affect you as a national federation. So we're going to cover these categories. These are the rules, which mainly will affect you guys, starting with the new weight classes. And we'll finish with a little questions and answers at the end. And if you do have any questions whilst we're going through the sections, please do ask them, and I'll try and answer them as best as I can. Okay, so for the first rule change, which is an effect to us all, is there is a new weight class of 45 kg males, senior males, and this will allow additional team members opportunities to compete in the IFMA Games. This is the only category to be expanded on. The next section, which has been quite extensively overhauled, is the medical aptitude section, which is just to clarify what is required of yourselves and your athletes when competing at the games or coming to the games. So we're going to take a closer look at this rule, just to quickly go through and give you an idea if you haven't already read it. So there's now, as there's been for quite a while, the medical declaration. There is now obviously the declaration of non-pregnancy of athletes aged 18 and above. The blood testing now has come in as mandatory. Competition medical certification is also required for the World Games, World Championships, World Cups. And the prohibited conditions, which can be found in the medical handbook, are also now becoming quite prevalent. Cuts and abrasions. Oops. Okay. Has anyone got any questions at this stage? Okay, so let's move on to the next rule. So the next major rule change here is the medical examination, mainly to do with the timings. And as you can see there, the medical and weigh-in checks will be conducted at the following times. So you have the official weigh-in, you have the competition weigh-in, and you have the pre-contest weigh-in. So there's no more of the general weigh-in that has now left, and there's an additional pre-contest weigh-in. So for the general weigh-in, we're hoping that will allow athletes more time to recover, fewer bouts in a single day, and increase the overall number of athletes in a championship. We're going to move on to the next slide with regards to the pre-contest weigh-in. This new rules come into place with a lot of input from the medical commission. Mr. Ergodan has done some intensive work here, and we've tried to make the rule as simple as possible and as clear as possible. So now there will be a pre-contest weigh-in. It will be conducted at any time prior to the athlete's contest by an appointed jury member of the contest, as designated by the technical delegate or the chairman of the jury. If the athlete's pre-contest weight is found 5% above their qualified weight classification or equal to the next weight classification, they will be disqualified. Now this is quite a major rule change here with regard to your athlete's weight. And what we're trying to ensure here is that the athletes are kept safe at all times. The pre-contest weigh-in can happen at any time prior to the athlete's bout. So heavy weight cuts, we hope, will begin to fade. Okay, now on this section here, are there any questions? Okay, I can't see your questions there. Q&A, sorry.
Which are the criteria to select an athlete for pre-contest weigh-in?
Okay.
That's the question.
All right. Okay, so the question that's been put forward, the criteria is that of random. There is no such criteria. We're trying to ensure that everybody, all athletes, are staying within their weight category with no more than 5% above that weight classification. So the criteria is simple. Stay within your weight category. The athletes will be chosen at random, designated by the technical delegate or the chairman of the jury. Okay, are there any more questions on this one? Okay, we shall continue. So the next major rule change here is to do with the clothing and dress during the weigh-ins. Athletes must complete the weigh-in in suitable lightweight undergarments and in a fully prepared state for competition. They must weigh in suitable undergarments only. And this is to ensure the decency and modesty of the athletes is upheld at all times. It also ensures that the athletes are fully prepared for competition and adequate time. So no more of the athletes turning up at weigh-in and trying to weigh in naked to save a couple of ounces of weight. This is also in line with the pre-weigh-in checks. Okay, pre-bout weigh-in checks. We're trying to ensure that the athletes are being kept safe at all times, that are not trying to be forced or are losing a great deal of weight to make weight, okay? Is there any questions? Okay, so let's move on to the next rule. So the next rule that has been changed is when to remove the gloves. I think this has been spoke about in one of the pre-game hand manuals that have gone out, one of the pre-manual handbooks. Just to clarify that it has gone into the rules now. The gloves shall be taken off outside of the ring after the contest decision is announced. This means that the gloves must be removed outside of the ring, and it's just to ensure correct formalities and to avoid any unnecessary delays to the next contest. So please, ensure your athletes keep the gloves on and their equipment on when we're given the announcement and the decision of their bout. Is there any questions? Okay, let's move on to the next one. So the next rule reference again is to do with the athlete's equipment and dress, and it's the inspection. The inspection of the hand wraps and bandages of the athlete will be inspected before being provided the competition equipment, and the hand wraps may be inspected at any time by the referee or jury, including after the decision has been rendered. So the hand wraps will now be checked, or can be checked, at any time. We just wish to ensure fair play at all times and to ensure safety of the athletes at all times. Is there any questions? Okay, so we'll move on to the next rule. The next rule is about groin guards. And it's the use of groin guards is mandatory. To observe hygiene, all athletes, male and female, must have their own groin guards. Each groin guard must pass inspection prior to competition. So just to clarify, all athletes, male and female, must have their own groin guards. And again, it's to ensure the safety of the athletes at all times, but it's also to ensure that all athletes are observing hygiene concerns, especially at this time. Is there any questions about that? Okay, so moving on to the next section. National flags. A country's flag are not permitted to be displayed within the field of play. No national flags within the field of play. And this is by order of the Executive Committee. Move on to the next rule. And it's regarding the seconds. And it's regarding the breaks between the rounds, the rest between the rounds. One is a formality. A second who is outside the ropes may not insert their body between the ropes and must reach over the top if tending to the athlete. So please, no more going through the ropes if you're the second standing on the canvas outside of the rope. The second most important thing here to take into consideration is seconds are permitted to spray a reasonable amount of water on the athlete using a water bottle or spray bottle only. Using excessive amounts of water or spraying the athlete by any other means is prohibited, i.e. orally or with a wet towel. So just to be clear, only water bottles and spray bottles may be used. And seconds who are outside of the rope must reach over the top of the rope to tend to their athlete. And this is for the personal well-being of the athlete, ensure a hygienic competition environment, and preventative measures against bacterial infection. Does anyone have any questions? So we shall move on. And it's regarding the second again. At any time, no bad advice, no bad assistance or bad encouragement or aggressive physical contact shall be given to an athlete by a second. And if a second is removed by the referee from the corner, they may not be replaced by an alternate second and shall not assist for the remainder of that day's competition. Seconds can be removed from competition. We wish to ensure proper conduct at all times and to ensure the psychological well-being of the athlete. Are there any questions? Okay, so we shall move on. And it's regards to the starting of a contest, presenting for a competition. The athlete shall enter the ring between the second and third rope, or third and fourth rope for athletes in a heavier weight division. So no longer going over the top of the rope or under the bottom rope. And after entering the ring, will have their moncon placed on their head by their second before presenting themselves to the jury and the judges. The athlete in their corner will then present themselves to the referee for their equipment inspection. So the update here is to ensure that the athletes present themselves correctly with their moncon and when to do that through correct procedures and formalities, and to ensure that the athlete has the necessary items to compete. Are there any questions? Okay, so we shall move on. The rule reference regarding starting a contest, the shaking of hands. Before beginning and after a contest, athletes shall shake hands or wire in a proper manner, a sign of a purely sporting and friendly rivalry in accordance with the rules. And the authorised times for this, shaking of hands takes place before the beginning of the first round and after the announcing of the contest. Athletes can now shake hands or simply wire to each other in a respectful way. This is to bring more Thai tradition and respect into the sport. Are there any questions? So we'll continue. Technical officials, the judges. This has been stated in a few handbooks, and we just want to make clear of how this works. In each contest shall be marked 5 or 3 IFMA judges will be seated separately from the public and immediately adjacent to the ring. Each contest may have either 3 or 5 judges. This is decided by the technical delegate before each games. This is something that happens prior to the games, not during the games. Are there any questions? Okay, so we'll move on. Okay, so the awarding of points has been thoroughly overhauled for clarification. And we wish to ensure fair play at all times. So we'll take a closer look at Rule 20. If you have any questions, please do ask. Okay, firstly, can everybody see this? And does everyone have access to this? Okay, so any questions at this stage? Okay, so there has been a few small changes here. First one is really the naming and clarification of something, which is the scoring Muay Thai skill. So just to be clear, a Muay Thai skill is a punch, kick, knee or elbow applied with force and intent to cause effect. One score will be awarded for each Muay Thai skill that strikes against the scoring target without being blocked, guarded against, or infringing any rules. The target for Muay Thai means any part of the body except the groin. Non-scoring targets, the gloves, forearms, foot and shin are not scoring targets unless the strike is applied with enough force to cause an effect against the target. For instance, if somebody was to throw a high kick against gloves of a blocking opponent, which then took the opponent off balance, this would then become a scoring target. Illegal targets, the groin is not a scoring target, and intentional strikes against the groin may be considered a foul. Is there any questions? The remainder of the criteria that was in place before for scoring Muay Thai has remained the same. There is no change. Any questions? Okay. So we should move on to the next slide, next rule. For the next rule reference, it comes to the decisions. Before the decision is given and after the decision is given in the ring. And it's the opponent's water bottle. Drinking from the opponent's water bottle is prohibited to limit the risk of spreading bacteria, illness and contamination with regards to the IFMA anti-doping code. Quite simply, do not drink from your opponent's water bottle. It's a preventative measure against bacterial infection and a preventative measure against anti-doping cross-contamination. Are there any questions? Okay, so we should move on. So types of fouls. A new foul has been entered into the foul section. And again, it's to do with the applying of water to an athlete. by means other than a water bottle or spray bottle. Use of excessive water during the rest between rounds, causing a delay starting the next round, or using any forbidden substance acknowledged by a World Anti-Doping Agency or IFMA doping code. Quite simply, applying water by any other means other than the spray bottle and the water bottle is now a foul. And it's to ensure a hygienic competitive environment, preventive measures against bacterial infection, and preventative measures against the anti-doping cross-contamination. Are there any questions? So an upgrade for us all, and the rule reference throughout the new rules is you'll find that the ring equipment, the gloves, head guard, shin guard, and elbow guards are now simply only IFMA approved equipment is permitted. And it's just to ensure the safety of all athletes at all times. Are there any questions? And lastly, we move into a rule reference in the back in the appendix is a hyperlink reference table where we're starting to build all the necessary forms and links to the essential information for competition and general information for IFMA games. This will be expanded on as we move forward. So we move then into the last section of this webinar, and it's a simple open discussion for questions and answers of things that I may not have brought to topic. Are there any questions out there that you wish to have answered?
We have one question from Mexico, which says, not having a clear method to determine which athletes will need to do pre-contest weigh-in can become biased and unfair. It is important to have a kind of draw or testing pool. Please take this into consideration. We need transparency. Well, for the if you are referring to the newly introduced pre-bout weigh-in, basically spot weigh-in, this is at the behest of the medical commission. If there is any athlete that is seen to be showing signs of dehydration, or through intelligence is known to have jumped weight class, then they would be targeted for this pre-bout weigh-in. The random nature of the check is just to ensure that everyone is aware that a pre-bout weigh-in can happen at any time, and this is to discourage flash weight drops and discourage from the problem that we are seeing more and more in our sport, which is the weight loss by water, by dehydration, and which has caused a spike lately in our doping numbers, specifically with the substance of diuretic. So this is one of the ways in which the IFMA are trying to address this problem that we have been seeing in recent years. Ryan, do you have any other comments?
No, I think that's perfect. I think that's absolutely perfect. Okay, are there any more questions? Please feel free, ask away. Done then. Thank you.
Okay, well, I think that's clear then. As I said, I will be sharing this session with all the federations so that you can replay it and redistribute it to other stakeholders within your federations. once again, we'll be holding another session specifically targeted for referees and judges, so more technical in nature. Is that correct, Ryan?
Yeah.
This will be on Monday at 1 p.m. UTC, so the same time as today. You will be able to access the webinar room from the same landing page on the IFMA website in the media room, and just simply click the button to join the event there.
Okay,
So thank you very much, Ryan.
we have a question just come in. A question has just come in. Okay, so the question is from, let me answer this line. We have a question here from Greece. When a second is expelled, would a point be deducted from the athlete? It could simply be for the coach's conduct to the athlete. So for instance, if we talk about aggressive conduct in a corner where maybe a second is striking an athlete, that's not the athlete's fault. And just simply for the athlete's safe and well-being, we'd have that second removed. Also, if the coach is spraying water with his mouth over the athlete, again, this is not necessarily the athlete's fault, and we'd have the second removed. So it depends on the scenario, but for the moment, it's really in regard to how the coaches, or sorry, how the second is behaving in his own entity. There are cases where a second could be enticing and doing things wrong, and that could have a point deducted from the athlete. But really this rule is to try and keep us all in good form and having us all acting professionally at the competitions. Does that answer? Yeah. Sorry. Okay, are there any more questions out there? Please do ask.
If anyone thinks of a question later on, if you've had a delay in an idea for a question, please don't hesitate to send me an email as well, and I can get that answered for you.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good evening. Kahuka, thank you, Teresa. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you all again soon. Bye.
Bye.